Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narothamam Devim Sarvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dirayat. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, texts 41 and 42. So text 41. Narada Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Shushrushamana Hashilena
Shushrushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Narada Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo
Riktadana Manuvrata
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Shushrushamana Hashilena
Shushrushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Naradaha Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Shushrushamana Shilena
Shushrushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha Narada Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Vrataha
Shushrushamana Shilena
Shushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Narada Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Riktadana Manuvrataha
Shushamana Shilena
Shushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Narada Priyatamo
Narada Priyatamo Riktadana Manuvrataha
Shushamana Shilena
Shushrushamana Shilena
Prashrayena Damena Cha
Prashrayena Damena Cha.
So word by word, Tam, unto him, Narada, the great sage Narada, Priyatamaha,
Priyatamaha,
very dear,
very dear,
Rikta Adanam, of the inheritor sons, Anuvrata, very obedient, Shushrushamana, always ready to serve,
always ready to serve,
Shilena,
Shilena,
by good behavior,
by good behavior,
Prashrayena,
Prashrayena,
by meekness,
by meekness,
Damena,
Damena,
by sense control,
by sense control,
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Narada, translation by Srila Prabhupada, Narada, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control. Well, not purport, translation. That's what I meant to say. So there is no purport, so we'll also do text 42. Mayam vividishan Vishnu Mayeshasya Mahamuni Mahabhagavato Rajan Pitaram Paryato Saya. So I'll only do it once if somebody else wants to go.
Mayam vividishan Vishnu
Yam vividishan Vishnu
Maheshasya Mahamuni
Maheshasya Mahamuni
Mahabhagavato Rajan
Mahabhagavato Rajan
Pitaram Paryato Saya.
Mayam, energies,
Energy.
vividishan, desiring to know, Vishnu, the personality of the personality of Godhead, Maya Ishasya, of the master of all energies, Mahamuni, the great sage, Mahabhagavat, the first class devotee of the Lord, Rajan, O king, Pitaram, unto his father, Paryato Shayat, very much pleased. Translation: Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. Purport by his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma, being the creator of all living beings in the universe, is originally the father of several well-known sons like Daksha, the Chatusanas, and Narada. In 3 departments of human knowledge disseminated by the Vedas, namely fruitive work, Karma Kanda, transcendental knowledge, Jnana Kanda, and devotional service, Upasana Kanda, Devarshi Narada inherited from his father Brahma devotional service, whereas Daksha inherited from his father fruitive work, and Sanaka, Sanatana, etc. inherited from their father information about Jnana-kanda or transcendental knowledge. But out of all of them, Narada is described here as the most beloved son of Brahma because of good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render service unto the father. And Narada is famous as the greatest of all sages because of his being the greatest of all devotees. Narada is the spiritual master of many famous devotees of the Lord. He is the spiritual master of Prahlad, Dhruva, Vyas, down to the forest animal hunter Kirat. His only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, all these features of Narada make him the dearmost son of his father, and all this is due to Narada's being a first-class devotee of the Lord. The devotees are always anxious to know more and more about the Supreme Lord, the master of all energies, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Machita madgata prana modhyatyanta padasparam katayanta shamam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. The Supreme Lord is unlimited and his energies are also unlimited. No one can know them completely. Brahmaji, being the greatest living entity within the universe and being directly instructed by the Lord, must know more than anyone within this universe, although such knowledge may not be complete. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to ask about the unlimited Lord from the spiritual master in the disciplic succession of Brahma, which descends from Narada to Vyas, and from Vyas to Shukadev, and so on. Hare Krishna. So, online we have the Mara family, Kim, Kristen, Rama, Len, Gajendra, and Garuda, and in person we have Bhakta Eze, Malani, Dira, Pyle, and Ladini Shakti. And for some reason or another, as he's giving class, not that I have any realization whatsoever about anything that I'm talking about, but I pulled it from Prabhupada, so it's true. So in the purport, we first saw, or we first heard that Brahma, he has several well-known sons. He has many sons, maybe also daughters. Mostly I've read about the sons. There's the demigods and the demons, Indra, Shiva, the Gandharvas, Manus, Narada, Kumaras, Prajapatis, like Daksha, who was mentioned. And in the purport specifically, Daksha, the Kumaras, and Narada are mentioned for their respective responsibilities amongst many responsibilities that they have, like Daksha being the Prajapati, progenitor, creating many living entities. The Kumaras hold one of the Sampradayas, and Narada, who we are mostly hearing about, delivering all of the spirit souls to the Lord. So Daksha, so he has also, like his father, many offspring, many children. He's a Prajapati, so that was his role, is to create many other living entities. And among them, he has a daughter named Sati, which means the most chaste, and who is also Parvati, Shiva's wife. So kind of like my first thought was like, well, that's kind of weird because Daksha and Shiva are like brothers. But then, so I was like, okay, that's just like my material calculations. In the transcendental realm, there are no such calculations. It's the conclusion that I came to on my own. There's no such like limitation by like my material conception of relationships between persons. So I found this pastime between Daksha, Sati, and Shiva. So again, Sati is the daughter of Daksha and the wife of Shiva. And so here we're staying with the purport that all of these personalities are related to Brahmaji, who's named in the verse. So Daksha, he was performing some kind of a sacrifice, some kind of a ceremony. There was many sages and demigods, many personalities involved. However, Daksha is jealous of Shiva, and so he didn't invite him to the party. Right. So Sati knew this, so she was upset, and so she was going to go chastise her dad for not inviting Shiva, who she knows to be a great personality. Because Shiva is even greater than Brahma, actually, even though Shiva appears as Brahma's son. There's like the calculation that Brahma, generally the post of Brahma is filled by a jiva, by a living entity, like, I mean, I could say like you and I, but like a much more elevated version of you and I. But anyway, like in the same category. And so at most, Brahma can attain 78% of the splendor, of the opulence, of the wonderfulness of Krishna. Whereas Shiva, he's neither Jiva Tattva or Vishnu Tattva. He's like somewhere in between, but sometimes it said he's also not really in between, which that's like a little bit too philosophical for me. I like to think of it like he's in between. And so he can attain 84%. So even just mathematically, which I like to consider, Shiva is recognized as being superior to Brahma. And so, okay, Daksha pays his obeisances to his father, to Brahma, but not to Shiva, because again, he's jealous of Shiva. So anyway, so the short of it is that Sati came, kind of chastised her dad, and then gave up her body. She just, I guess, the transcendental version of suicide. I don't exactly know how she left her body. I guess she just chose to leave her body, quit her body.
Fire.
Ignited herself in fire. Okay, so like that. I hadn't read that part. So she ignited herself in fire and left her body. And so, so the kind of like the moral there, the instruction. So it's actually from a purport from the fourth canto. So the instruction is set forth here in Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmin, he should not give up his body because then he would be responsible for the death of a Brahmin. If one is like Kshatriya, then one's in a position to punish this person. So the instruction is cut out their tongue and then kill them. And if one is anything else, like a Vaishya, a Shudra, or anything else, then they should immediately give up their bodies. So Sati decided to give up her body because there's like an instruction somewhere, women, laborers, and mercantile class are on the same level. So she recognized herself somewhere on that platform. And so she just gave up her body to not deal with the blasphemy of her dad. So the Brahmin, they should cover their ears and leave so that they don't hear the blasphemy. They shouldn't give up their body. Not to, yeah, they kind of have it pretty good. So like,
she felt mortified. She was like, this body comes from you, Daksha. I'm disgusted, so I need to give up the body.
Yeah, and like I'm being polluted by your words, and they've already gone into my brain, so there's not, or my ears. I don't know if Sati has a brain, but into my ears, so there's nothing I can do. So I'll just leave the body. And so then I wonder, okay, so we're kind of like Shudras or less. And so I don't know what the practical application is, because like practically everybody in Kali Yuga is like constantly blaspheming God and different personalities. So I don't know if the instruction is that we all need to give up our bodies. I'm certainly not ready or like willing to do that. That's kind of what I understand is like the implication there. But anyway, I like I said, I'm not realized in any of this. I'm just sharing with you Prabhupada's wisdom. Okay, so that's a little pastime in connection with Daksha. And then we also have the four, here they're called the Chatu Sanas, so the four sanas, the incarnations of knowledge. So many of these personalities are sometimes described as like separate personalities, and sometimes they're described as incarnations of the Lord, like in a different place in the second canto, the four sanas are described as four incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme. And they're described that they explain the transcendental knowledge so explicitly that even though all the knowledge, all spiritual knowledge had been lost in this particular millennium, I don't know which millennium it was, there's so many of them, but that at this point it was all lost. And so I want to say it was Brahma, but maybe some other personality wanted to bring back all the spiritual knowledge. They got these four sons, the four sanas. And then by following the footsteps of the four Kumaras, all of the, I guess, people that were at least interested in learning the knowledge, they were able to do it very easily, super easily. So that's paying respects to the four Kumaras, paying respect to Brahmaji for being their dad. So some of the personalities here, which later we'll also hear as we're talking about the unlimited energies of the Lord, that all of these are also energies of the Lord. So we're also acknowledging and celebrating the splendor of Krishna by praising these different personalities. So there's another purport now in the third canto that talks a little bit more about like the energies or parts of Brahma that go into making many of his sons. So Narada is said to be born from the deliberation of Brahma, whatever that means, which is the best part of the body. I don't know what part of the body it is, but it's the best one. But Vasishta was born from his breathing, Daksha from a thumb, Brigu from his touch, and Kratu from his hand. So those other personalities aren't named in our purport, but again, we would have a very long purport if we hear about all of the children of Brahma. So we just hear about some in different purports. And so the very name Narada, it means that he can deliver the Supreme Lord. He can deliver the Supreme Lord, and he can deliver anybody to the Supreme Lord. So Nara means Supreme Lord, and Da means one who can deliver. And I really like Prabhupada's playfulness here. Let's see, there's a comment here from the agenda. The important thing is not to give up physical body, but bodily identification. Like with Jagai Madai, kill their demonic mentality, not their body. Yes, and I'm also not sure which part of this you're connecting, but whenever we open it up for discussion, I welcome you to share more. Agenda. So Prabhupada has this kind of playful thing that he said the Supreme Lord is not like a parcel package that like it's not like Narada is going to deliver it to like whoever wants that like their women call, but that he has a very special ability that he is considered the spiritual master of many or maybe all living entities because he's the greatest devotee, and so he's the only one that can truly deliver the spiritual wisdom that can deliver the Supreme Lord to any living entity. So that's something that I like to learn about Narada. It says, in other words, it is Narada only who can deliver the path of Bhakti Yoga, the highest mystic means for attainment of the Supreme Lord. Like sometimes I think it's like, and please correct me, because like Prabhupada sometimes say this is the only, and then sometimes he'll say this other thing is the only. Kind of like my understanding is like wanting to like really emphasize the amazing ability of Narada to deliver. I don't know if it means like the only, even though that's what Prabhupada says. Like I'm not intending to like question Prabhupada. I'm just trying to make sense because there sometimes are many onlys. So I just sort of try to make sense of how there's many onlys. This is my limited conception. Like I was talking with Ladini, right? So we were talking about okay, the principle of 100% responsibility. Whatever, I don't know what happened. I spilled something. I forget exactly what it was. So many things happened where we have this conversation. And so Dini says, oh, okay, it's my fault or something. And I'll say, well, I'm the one who did it. Oh, well, I told you to. And I was like, yeah, but I actually did it. Oh, well, I was supervising. Yeah, but I still actually did it. And so we have this argument about like who's responsible. And she says, well, there's this principle of 100% responsibility. So I'm 100% responsible. And so then I say, well, I'm 100% responsible. So fine, 200% responsibility. So then, okay, like, how does that fit together? And this is like my limited perception. I don't know how to fit two 100% responsible people responsible for the same situation. I don't know how it happens. So it's kind of like this. There's many onlys and like somehow it works. I don't get it. So then we have Narada Muni. So in the purport, it says his only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So practically anything and everything that he's doing, that's his intention. Anywhere that he goes, that's what he's doing. And so in the purport, there's a name given. It's just like barely hinted, Kirata or Kirat, the hunter Kirat. And so that's a pastime where Narada Muni was going to Prayag, not to be confused with Prague, Prayag. He was going to bathe in the where the three rivers, the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the Sarasvati meet. It's a very auspicious place. And so on his way there, he encountered many half-killed animals, half-dead animals. I know we've talked about this pastime before. There was like a deer and maybe a rabbit and a boar. Many animals have killed birds. And so Narada found the hunter that was doing this, or at least that he suspected was doing this. And so whatever the hunter was saying, you can have whatever you want. You can have any skins, any animal, whatever. And Narada was like, yeah, I just want one thing from you. He's like, you can have any skins that you want. He's like, no, I don't want any skins. I just have one favor to ask you. Please just at least completely kill the animals. He said, it's your business to kill animals, so you'll inquire some slight, sin, some slight negativity, some slight reaction from that. But because it's your business, as long as you fully kill them, you're like relatively okay. It's not great, but like if you're gonna kill animals, because that's kind of your business, at least fully kill them. And I really like the sincerity of the concept. He said, my dear sir, what are you asking of me? What is wrong with the animals lying there half killed? Will you please explain this to me? So I really loves like a very sincere, humble inquiry from the hunter. Like, why is this a problem? Like please tell me. And so for me, just the fact that Narada Muni took the time to like calmly explain to him why this is a problem, or like why he didn't want him to do it, to me that's already like a reflection of Narada Muni's awesomeness, like his greatness, that he didn't just like like blow up on this guy or like whatever, try to punish him in some way. Like he just explained, well, you're kind of like accruing a lot of karma. You're gonna experience a lot of punishment from this, because you're like intentionally inflicting suffering. He explained to him some about karma, the reactions, that all of these entities, they'll have the opportunity to kill you, and even more gruesome ways for many lifetimes. And so eventually the hunter became fearful. And so, okay, the fact that this Narada explained calmly, that's already like a testament to his greatness. But then also that this hunter, he became like so compassionate towards the suffering of living entities that when he wanted to bow down to Narada, he would like calmly brush away the ants so that he didn't like accidentally crush them. So for me, it's like another glorification of Narada Muni, that he was able to transform this personality that was taking great pleasure in half killing animals, that now was like so compassionate, he didn't want to like, accidentally hurt an ant or anything like that. So again, Narada, Brahmaji, Lord Krishna, amazing personalities. And so the purport talks about the unlimited energies of the Lord, the unlimited energies. And so the energies themselves are limitless. And it also seems that the way that the energies are described are also limitless. So I found like 12 or 15, I don't know, whatever it is, different ways that the energies of Krishna are explained, which again, for me, sometimes, how do they fit together? But it's not for me to figure out. So I'll tell you about some of the ways that the Lord's energies are explained. So it's explained that from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are created the 24 elements of the material world. So, so there's like I believe the 8 separated energies here are like the elements, the intelligence, mind, and ego. It's earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intellect, and ego. The material energy and spiritual energy, or external and internal, are described as the 2 energies of the Lord, with the marginal energy being another energy. So that's like, again, it's not described as the 3rd energy, but it's called energy. So it's kind of like a 3rd energy, somewhere in between. That's us. We get to choose. The Lord's energy is divided into 3 components, different 3 components, not the ones that we were just talking about, namely Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini. In other words, he is the full manifestation of existence, knowledge, and bliss. The modes of nature, Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva, they're energies of the Lord. In one purport is described, the material impediments are but various energies of the Lord. Both cause and effect are nothing but the energies of the Lord. I'm just quoting here, I'm not coming up with this. The body, therefore, has a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the soul does. Since both of them are energies of the Lord, neither of them is false, because they come from the reality. The Jiva Tattva, the truth of the living entities, is mentioned to be one of the energies of the Lord. It's kind of like the marginal energy we're talking about. The material energy called Maya is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord. So one of the Vishnu incarnations, I'm not remembering which one, the one that sleeps on the snake, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Yes, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. When I said snake, it came to me. So he sleeps on Sheshanaga. That's the snake. It has the form like a serpent, but it's identical with the Lord. So Sheshanaga is known as Shankarshan, or that which keeps balance by the law of magnetism. In the scientific world, this feature of the Lord is referred to as the law of gravitation. But factually, this law, which keeps all the planets floating in space, is one of the energies of the Lord. Again, we're talking here about all of the different energies. The Lord, the Supreme Brahman, is the origin or source of everything, and all other manifestations are emanations of different energies of the Lord. This is also confirmed in Vishnu Purana. Whatever we see in this world is simply an expansion of different energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is exactly like a fire that spreads illumination for a long distance, although it is situated in one place. I really like all of these different ways that the energies are described. Sometimes they're described as inconceivable, which I'll mention in a moment. All of this is inconceivable, but for me, and I'll share that more of that at the end. So the Supreme Lord is the master of innumerable eternal energies, which are unlimited. Sometimes these energies are manifested, sometimes they're not. That's already like inconceivable for me. In any case, all energies are under his control, Therefore, he is the original energetic, the abode of all energies. A common brain in the conditioned state cannot conceive of how these inconceivable energies abide in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I attest. How he exists in his innumerable forms as the master of both spiritual and material energies, also true. How he is the master of both manifest and potential powers. I don't get it. And how contradictory potencies can abide in himself. They're like Prabhupada's like really like validating my experience right there. So like a common brain can't comprehend how contradictory potencies can abide in him. So that's like constantly my challenge, like I was saying earlier, like this only, that only, this only, this is the one, but that's also the one. Like Shiva is neither Jiva nor Vishnu, but he's also not in between. So like all of these things that seem to me totally contradictory, inconceivable, Prabhupada's like really helping me out here. It's like just you have a common brain, so you're just not gonna get it. And so that's like comforting in a way that like I'm just not gonna get it, even though I constantly keep trying, like, oh, that's contradictory, that doesn't make sense, therefore it must not be true. So this purport's like really there, just like common brain. I like it. Therefore, the action of different energies of the Lord, or the personality of God himself, can be realized by the light manifested by the costless mercy of the Lord. So that's kind of like the counterpart there, that like the action of all of the different energies, and it's that's equated with the personality of God himself, can be realized ultimately by the costless mercy of the Lord. So that's like further comfort for me. Like I'm not going to get it with my common brain, but somehow or other, by the costless mercy of the Lord, I'll get like some small portion of it. Because it's described like, even in our purport, towards the end of our purport, it's described, okay, the Supreme Lord is unlimited and his energies are also unlimited. No one can know them completely. Brahmaji being the greatest living entity within this universe. See, like, so there, my brain's also like, well, okay, so Brahmaji is the greatest living entity within the universe, but it's also described that Shiva is greater than him, right? So my brain's already like, that's contradictory. But then again, Shiva is not a living entity. He is not Vishnu Tattva, not a living entity, somewhere between, but also not in between. So even Brahmaji, the greatest living entity, who's being directly instructed by the Lord, he knows more than anybody. And it says, such knowledge may not be complete. In other places, it said, definitely his knowledge is not complete. It said, even Shiva, who is greater than him, also, it said he doesn't, even Shiva doesn't fully understand the illusory energy of the Lord. And then even in other places, it's described, even Krishna himself doesn't fully understand himself. He's like constantly catching up with himself. Like if Krishna can't get it, like just don't stand a chance at all whatsoever. Right. So again, therefore, the action of the different energies of the Lord, or the personality of Godhead, can be realized by the light manifested by the costless mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna. So that is what I got. So now let's open it up for questions, comments, discussions. Hopefully not any too challenging questions, because I don't know if I can answer them. I'll come back to Gajendra. So Gajendra, you wrote, the important thing is not to give out physical body, but bodily identification, like Jagai Madai. Right, the pastime where the idea was kill their demonic mentality, not their body. Okay, and I see earlier Sati, so you're making the connection with Sati. So I don't know, maybe Sati didn't get the message. She did it differently. She gave up her body altogether. Would you like to say more about that, Gajendra? So, okay, maybe, I don't know if you're there, you're on mute and your video's off. Okay, you're on mute.
Yeah, so, no, it was just an afterthought. I didn't mean to interrupt by sending the message earlier, but, you know, the examples and the different scriptures, I mean, these are people in different ages. But some of the discussion was, you know, what might we do And, you know, in Kali Yuga, we're not really meant to be killing other people or killing ourselves when faced with these situations.
Gotcha. Yeah. So when I said I don't know what the practical application is, I'm not gonna kill myself because I'm constantly myself and hearing others blaspheme. And you're saying, okay, so the principle that we could apply in our day and age would be to kill our bodily identification rather than the physical body itself. So thank you. That makes sense to me. I appreciate that. Hare Krishna.
I appreciate Gurjan's comment there. And the basic principle is like cultivating intelligence to cultivating intelligence for the distinction for any of these pastimes or examples, whether Prabhupada or Sati, Shiva, Brahma, Narada. Yeah, what's the principle to follow, and what's the detail to not foolishly imitate? That's like in fact any pastime. What's the principle for us to follow, and then what's the detail that's not for us to imitate? And it's what I appreciate that point, like to eliminate, kill our bodily identification, and to the extent that we're capable, to also transform the heart, in a sense, to kill the material bodily identification of the one who's transgressing the authority of blasphemy, to transform the heart. That's following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he didn't come to kill demons in that incarnation, but to crush, to kill the darkness in our heart. So the basic principle, as far as practical application, is, well, if we can transform their heart, then let's do that. And if not, then okay, then go away. Otherwise, like the Brahminical example, otherwise we become contaminated and confused and degraded. If we think we're stronger than we are, and we continue to be exposed to such sound vibration that's blaspheming pure authority, then we fall down. We become more and more covered by material nature and demonic modes. At the same time, if we're truly potent enough, then we don't get negatively influenced, and we're able, by our philosophy, by our purity, to transform hearts, and then they come to another realization. But we don't want to try that unless we're potent.
Hare Krishna. So in a way, what I'm hearing you say is, because we're none of those things. We're not Brahmins or Kshatriyas or really even Vaishyas or Shudras. Like, we can kind of pick and choose our strategy depending on where we're at. Like, okay,
it's based on honesty.
Yeah, like, okay, I'm not that, like, okay, I'm on the platform of a Brahmin, but like, okay, I'm not potent enough to change over there or to not be weak in myself, so I'll just leave. Again, not on the platform of Brahmin, but on the platform of weakness. And so one moment, I want to comment on, so you mentioned the principle of identifying the principle and not imitating whatever the actual act is. And so it reminds me of some pastimes that Lavini was sharing with me whenever she first came here. Okay, so she was like, she came to get trained by Dira on Krishna consciousness, and so how she was like learning some habits that were like imitating, not necessarily getting the principles. Like, okay, so when you chant japa, like you walk slowly. You walk slowly when you go on a japa walk, or like you don't heat up prasadam. She was like doing some imitating, and then eventually she learned, or like, okay, like the essence, like the principles, like that. So
I told you, no, I'm
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Chanting at least 60 rounds per day, following Prabhupada.
Yeah, that's the essence.
Yeah, follow Dear Govinda Das on that one. But then, okay, some of the habits he has around all that. Oh no, we don't want to imitate that.
Yeah, we could walk at different speeds. We want to like match the speed. Like
okay.
we can heat up prasadam.
Warm prasadam is okay.
It's still prasadam.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Ladini.
Hare Krishna. So I did have a lot of fun during third class, and like entertaining, and also like so much points you made. So it like you really got my attention. Sometimes it's difficult for me, but you really got my attention. I appreciate it for that. And I wanted to say to you, so many points are happening here. It started to be like some like big whole community. But yeah, I wanted to say to the point like if we are content enough. I think it also like depends on our sadhana. Like it's like Shabda gave us the sandwich structure. Because I have so much experience that I don't like to like call it preach. I don't know if it's really teaching, but like what I do to visit my parents, and I want to like share with them Krishna consciousness somehow or other. And after that, like I think like the consciousness like really matches, like the osmosis happens. So at the end, they are higher than they were when I came, and I have like much more. But then I have the sandwich structure, so I can like have association again with the pure devotee, Chaturanga, and then so it's not like it's like about plugging in, I guess, or plugging in with your potency that like do I have the potency or not? Because I don't like those houses like kind of like batches. And then it's the sandwich.
You're saying sandwich structure, like okay, have association before, and then go and do something, and then have association after.
Actually, yes, and actually program like I think that's what he like gave like evening program and morning program, and then the service between sandwich structure.
The sandwich structure, okay, I like it. So the principle would be to follow the sandwich structure, but not necessarily as an actual sandwich.
You can also have president sandwich as a part of the sandwich structure.
Hare Krishna. I'm glad that that the class was engaging or captured your mind in some way. Hare Krishna. Yeah, and like I like the visual that you gave of like osmosis, or like okay, if you're on a higher platform, you come to lower, kind of it'll be like this depending on the strength of where we're at whenever we're coming in contact with others. That makes a lot of sense, and it resonates with my experience for sure. Hare Krishna. So the sandwich structure. Len? I heard you for like a fraction of
Okay. Yeah, my computer's really slow. It took me 10 minutes to unmute. Yeah, I appreciate your class essay and trying to explain the energies of the Lord with your, what was it? Normal mind?
common brain.
Common brain, yeah. But what I like, I mean, Narada Muni has to be one of my favorite personalities. So I'm always interested in hearing about his pastimes. And, you know, he's known as the transcendental spaceman, right? I'm wondering where that designation came about, whether that was in a purport or something, but it's just a great image. He's flying around the universe with his vina, sort of like his guitar, if you may. He's flying around the universe with his vina. And he's not in a Vimana, he's not in a spaceship, he's not in a flying city. He's just flying with his body, going anywhere, in any galaxy, any planet, with his vina. I mean, it's really cool. So
yeah, totally cool.
You know, he's not flying on Garuda, the bird, you know, he's just flying. I know there's other I guess demigods. What are the Gandharvikas that can fly? There are other uh, beings that can fly like that, but Narada Muni seems to be the main one that comes to my mind when I think of that image, and I'm just wondering this transcendental spaceman idea. Uh, was that phrase coined by Prabhupada, or I don't know if you know anything more about that essay, but I just wonder if you want to comment on that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I know nothing. I hadn't even heard that term. I very like it, transcendental spaceman. I think it's cool. Maybe somebody here has more knowledge on transcendental spaceman.
It's definitely quite in the first canto when there is a description of the type of Nalini, and when he gets Vina, which is a transcendental Vina, even the sound of his Vina transforms the art of the living. And then you get his transcendental Vina. In the purport, Sri Prabhupada used that phrase. And since the first canto was written before it came to the West, I don't know if you got it from his spiritual master or where, but it's right there. So.
Okay, first canto it is. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, there's a particular planetary system known as Siddhaloka, which is it's above the heavenly planets and a little bit below Brahmaloka. So it's a really elevated planetary system above heavenly planets. And in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada purports the residents of Siddhaloka, yeah, they can fly without airplanes. That's one of the perfections they have. And then, okay, so we sometimes we hear from Prabhupada that the Narada Muni is eternal space and incidental space. And so pretty much, yeah, these traditions from Prabhupada, maybe some, you got some budgets and also sometimes wrote in it. Even, on Prabhupada's language, we might take things for granted. Like even a term like, Krishna consciousness. Obviously. Well, it's not obviously. Prabhupada, he created that term in English. He got it from one of the verses from Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami. I'm forgetting the verse, but Rupa Goswami has a particular Sanskrit. Prabhupada translates it as Krishna consciousness. We just millions of times. But Prabhupada created that term to communicate with potency. So, Prabhupada was empowered to use English in a particular way to convey the Veda personality.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so on the transcendental spaceman, so there's this so in the pastime that I read with Narada Muni going to the forest and the pastime with the hunter. So he was like, so that was right after going to visit Narayan in Vaikuntha. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm visiting Narayan Vaikuntha. All right, I think I'll go to, I don't know, I guess it was this planet. Audio is not very good if somebody other than Eze speaks. Okay, thank you, Parampara. I'll maybe ask people to come closer. Yeah, so he's like a true spaceman, right? So he's in Vaikuntha, and then he comes down somewhere here in our general region. And so like right now in our day and age, there's this like race for like billionaires where they're going into space. There's, I don't know, one is like Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, and some other person. They're like competing who can get to space, and they're like, oh, they were calling themselves spacemen, and then there was like some new definition that like took away that title of like, oh, well, maybe they don't really qualify as spacemen. And I just want to like hold the two in contrast. We have like these, it's like all over the news, like, oh yeah, these people go at like whatever, 300,000 feet in the air, they're spacemen. And then it's like Narada Muni. There's like Vaikuntha, and then he comes take a bath in the Ganges, and like he's a real spaceman. Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, sharings?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna.
How's my sound?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Thank you for your class. I appreciate your sincerity and enthusiasm to present these topics and share Srila Prabhupada's his gift to us. I'm noticing something that's happening for me, or something that does happen for me a lot of times with class. I don't know if it's this specific like community, but I would say like class in general, like in my life, or going to church, or just being in a group setting, and I guess just kind of talking about philosophy or topics, religion. I notice what happens for me I always feel like urgent that I need something to like, that I can practically like apply like now in my life. Also like there's this sense of like, I'm also looking for like urgency to take a stand, to like recommit myself in a more rigorous way. So I have those two like things that I tend to come to any group, or especially like I guess spiritual association. I have those like two main things that I'm like, I have this agenda that I notice that I'm like coming with it. And if I don't like feel like I'm getting that, then I feel frustrated. And I feel like, you know, I mean, I appreciate like hearing from all these different personalities, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate like hearing about like their qualities. But it seems like a lot of times I'm like stuck on that, like I want to walk away from like whatever I'm associating with like more, yeah, like I said, more urgency, or like something like practical that I can apply, start like playing with today, and using today. So I guess that's kind of what's going on for me in general. I feel like it's kind of like, I think it can like kind of turn me away from like association in general. Like for instance, last night I found this, he was a ex satanic occultist, and he's preaching on, he became a born again Christian. And I was just really appreciating his bringing to awareness of like all the activities that he was engaging in his practice, doing curses, and like leaving his body to, you know, go wreak havoc basically, and doing it in the service of the devil or demons. And I noticed that for me, it was just like it triggers me to be like, oh, there's like, this is activity that's happening right now in this moment. Like this is, you know, for me, I got him as very like sincere, and like he was talking about something that he had a lot of conviction about, because he basically grew up being trained as a warlock, and you know, this part of it seems like when I expose myself to like something like that, like where I hear like, oh yeah, there's very like dark intentions, and really just really sick part of this life in reality, like that to me like feels really like dark and sick. It like it causes me to like, okay, I'm going to commit myself to, I'm going to pray more today. I'm going to chant more today. I'm going to read more today. I'm going to, you know, hear more from Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to hear more from Jesus Christ. I'm going to hear more from like, you know, to like, you know, so I guess it's kind of an example of like, you know, kind of what I really want and what I really need is like, I need that sort of like urgency, like now, or like, you know, he was giving this preacher was giving advice for everyone to pray all day, pray all night, you know, cultivate your intimacy with Jesus, cultivate your personal relationship with Jesus, just like you would any other person in your life, but like have it like to where you're talking to Jesus all day long. It's not like, oh, I just have a conversation with Jesus on Sunday. It's like every day, all day long. And I'm looking at like, oh, my experience with Bhakti Yoga, like, you know, talking to Krishna on a regular basis, talking to Srila Prabhupada, and being in that like active like relationship. And I was hearing from him like, even like it was so like, I was appreciating him so much because he was like bringing Bhakti Yoga like structure and practice and the rigorousness into like the awareness in the Christian community. And I was just like, this is awesome. This is really beautiful. So I have my connection and relationship with Bhakti Yoga in my practice, but I feel like I'm having to go like, I feel like I don't know. I'm just kind of, I guess when it comes down to it, I guess what I've said before, like when I come to any like gathering or anything, I want something practical and I want urgency to take a stand, to do something more. And I feel like a lot of times when I'm experiencing, especially, I don't know why, like when I listen to Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita lectures, I feel like it's more like practical, like knowledge and information that I can start applying. Whereas it seems like my experience as a whole with like, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, a lot of the topics, it just feels like, yeah, it's interesting, it's nice and all, but for some reason, for me personally, I just feel like it's like, it's not relevant to me. At least that's been my experience as a whole. And I'd rather like hear a Bhagavad Gita lecture or something basic, like, because I feel like I've lived a lifetime of like conditioning and like these paradigms I've been operating from. And really where I'm at is in these basic, like, okay, Krishna, my relationship with Krishna, I don't have an attachment to that. And Srila Prabhupada always stresses like, develop your attachment. Okay, like what does that look like? What does that look like to develop an attachment to Krishna? And you know, it's like I feel like I'm still in like the practical like baby step stage. So I feel like when there's I guess discussion on these like topics, to me, I guess my experience is that they feel so like out of my scope of like where I'm at. So it feels like it's hard for me to like even feel like when I leave a class, I'll just be like, well, I just feel like I don't know what even I experienced the past, you know, hour and a half or 2 hours. I just feel a little lost, kind of. So I guess that I just wanted to share authentically kind of what's happening for me. But again, I appreciate your sincerity and your enthusiasm to, you know, present the philosophy. And so I guess I feel complete. Thanks for hearing me.
Yeah, I so appreciate your sincerity, your humility in saying, okay, I'm at these baby steps. I can personally resonate like with what I talked about. Like, what does that mean for my life? I don't know. I find it interesting, sure, and I hear like you're so much wanting to cultivate urgency and wanting practical knowledge. And so I'm wondering, like, yeah, what might support you, whether it is something that we talked here or something within your own practice, like what might support you in cultivating that. And okay, Dira is going to say, you want to move a little bit closer?
Sure.
To that?
Okay, for the sound. All right, Krsna, I appreciate your authentic sharing. Garuda, just hearing your sharing, one line in the purport stands out for me. So Prabhupada writes, referring to Narada Muni, his only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That stood out for me in hearing your sharing. Okay, so his only business, so we're all doing business. We're all doing business. So we talked about the principle of following the principle. So we don't want to try to imitate, like, oh, I'll be mystical and I'll go into space or something. That's not the point. But you're doing business. I'm doing business. Eze, you're doing business. Paya, you're doing some business. We're all doing some business. So we can take a look, not with judgment, with just as it is. To what extent is my only business to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord? Now, for me personally, I don't know how it moves you, Garuda, but for me personally, that can be a source of inspiration. Okay, that's a direction to go. I got so many businesses going on in my mind and things I do. And that can be an inspiration to today practically move towards more fully, towards 100%, making my business, whatever I'm busy with, making that truly in the line of Prabhupada and Narada Muni, towards to turn everyone. Now, everyone, for me, that implies like in the entire universe. But okay, so like in my little sphere, to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service to the Lord, whether I'm doing business in my chanting, in my coaching, in coach training, in letters I'm writing. To what extent is that my deepest intention? To turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So for me, in hearing your sharing, Garuda, that one sentence, for me, that represents like an action plan.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that connection there. Yeah, to have that, like, your main intention, like throughout your day, to just be in that like paradigm of like, this is what I'm endeavoring to co-create with my time that I'm here in this body.
Yeah, thanks for your understanding. That's how that sentence from Prabhupada, that it moves me in a very like, here's an action plan, internal and external, to take from this association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Garuda Prabhu. I heard what you say, and I heard it many times before. Like, I heard people say, well, what's those stories have to do with me? Those stories. When I go to a Christian church, they tell me to pray. They tell me don't sin. It's direct. I feel more that it's connecting with me. I heard that before. And that's interesting for me, because even Christ himself, he decided to speak in parables. And in parables, the people were saying the same thing. They were saying, what that story have to do with me? And he said, well, only those who are really sincere is going to receive and know exactly what it means. And also something else that come to me is the seminars, Sadhatu seminar. So I've been to many seminars where the teaching is way more direct. do that, do this, do not like that, do not like that. And in Salvatore's seminar, it's like, try it on and see how you feel. And then it's experiential learning, meaning like if there is 30 people in a seminar, there is going to be 30 level of learning. Each person is going to get something because that's an experiential learning model, rather than if the didactic model is that everyone in the classroom is going to get exactly the same thing, same instruction, same guidance, same everything. So, it seems to me that Krishna consciousness, I have been asking that question to myself because there is an aspect of Christianity and that directness of like pray all the time to Jesus or like where there is a directness and didactic for everybody. That's very attractive for sure. And I'm thinking of that topic a lot. I came to comprehend that the parable of Christ or the Veda with all those stories and all those things, that how does that relate to me, that Krishna, 3 energy or 12 energy and all those things? Who cares? Today I need to fix a plumbing in my house, like that. You're not hearing me?
I can't hear you anymore. I lost you about 30 seconds ago.
Everybody else don't hear me?
Yes, I heard.
Yeah. And so it seems that it's like Salvatore's seminar. Some people get very, everybody's hearing, but you're not hearing, Gauda. I don't know what to do. But I want to.
I haven't got your sound back. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, he can't hear.
I can hear you, but you cannot hear me.
Yeah, let me type to him.
Oh, it's me. It's my device.
Okay.
It ran out of power.
Okay.
Let me try earphones.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
I can hear you.
I don't know how much you heard, but I will just finish my sentence for everybody else. But yeah, so in a seminar, some people feel extremely frustrated. They come to the foundational course, they feel frustrated because they feel like it's not direct. Like you need to tell me what to do basically. But here you're not telling me what to do. You say I have choices, and each person learn according to where they're at, and that's the beauty of experiential knowledge. And I came to a point where, when I was asking that question of myself, because it was an attraction to that Christian directedness, I came to a point of asking that myself, like, how do I comprehend that? And then I came to the place that that's experiential knowledge. We receive the parables of Christ, or we receive the stories in the Bhagavatam, or we receive knowledge of Krishna's cosmic manifestation, the creation from the Purushas, and Karana Dakashaya Vishnu, and Garbo Dakashaya Vishnu, and Shiro Dakashaya Vishnu, and see how does that relate to me? And as we are hearing, we are allowing an experience to come. And from that experience, each person in the class, according to what realization they have, and we all have different realization, according to our relationship with Krishna, and we all have different relationship with Krishna, then we can expand from there, because it's not as directive or limited. And that's how I came to, receive with that open mind, rather than expecting directedness.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so I guess what I heard as a whole was it's each individual is in a different place, and they'll have a different experience of And it's gives an opportunity for each individual to connect, I guess is what I was hearing, connect. Whereas if it was all like, direct and it might not be as received from so many different people, from so many different places, from where they're at. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It may be so directive that there is not as much space for expansion.
I don't feel 100% clear, like for me, what my understanding of that, it's kind of like when I hear that, I hear like open-ended questions. Is that what you're saying, instead of closed-ended questions?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, something like that. And then, like looking in the soul and finding like, yeah, that's, that connect with me. And that's really Christ's teaching, and he explained it because his disciples sometimes they say, well, why are you speaking in a way we cannot understand you? You're speaking about stories and we don't know what you mean. And Christ was very clear, like each person, they are going to look into their heart, and for some it will not mean anything, and they are not going to connect with those stories. Yeah.
So am I understanding that there's nothing, it's perfectly fine to not have any connection and feel like there's any meaning, like with, like, let's say topics of the description of the creation of the universe, or the different, qualities of Krishna's energy, is that perfectly fine to be like, well, I don't find any kind of meaning in that or connection with that, and that's okay?
Like maybe the introspective mind will say, oh, I wonder why I'm not finding any meaning, or I wonder why I'm not connecting with that. And then in itself, that inquiry is going to lead me to come closer to Krishna. But every time I say that's okay, my mind is saying that, or I criticize myself, usually that's where I make my process very close-ended. Because Atato Brahma Vijnanasa means to be in the spirit of inquiry. I wonder why I'm not connecting with creation. I know I'm so excited about creation. Yesterday I asked to have a meeting with Dear Govinda just to speak about creation. It's just like I needed to speak about creation. There was so many parts of the creation and that are so fascinating. And I feel those topics are purifying my heart, because the soul itself doesn't care about, Mariglashin's stuff. The soul does care about understanding the Purusha avatar, understanding the energy of the Lord. And then I allow my soul to be in contact with those topics that my soul is craving for.
And you're experiencing that craving more fully than the first time you went through Bhagavatam.
Oh yes, the first time I went Bhagavatam, I was like you. Like, what's that about? How does that relate to me? Why is it there even? I don't understand. How do I apply that to raising my daughter? Or living my day-to-day life? For sure. Those questions are there.
And I'll just share, Guru, I'm deeply inspired your absorption in hearing Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita lectures. Hare Krishna. That's certainly the essence of it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I would like to say one more thing if there's space for it.
Okay.
So I was, I guess where I kind of went, and I appreciate this conversation and the space to kind of go here. I was hearing, like, Srila Prabhupada's developing attachment, you know, if we truly are this philosophy presents this paradigm that, you know, that we're part and parcels of Krishna, and if that's like true, then, you know, it does make sense that we would want to know more about like who we really are, and develop more like attachment to hear more about like who we are and what this is all about. So I guess that's kind of what kind of came up for me at the end of this conversation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Garuda. Any final comments or questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna. Hare Krishna.